There. Can you hear me all right? Yeah. Very good, very good. I didn't want to experience the same difficulties some of our ministers have had with these contraptions. This is the first time I've worn one of these mics, so bear with me if anything happens here. Welcome to Unity of Mesa, where we enlighten, empower, and energize one another to uplift our world through a greater expression of God. As Aaron mentioned, our service this morning is being brought to you by members of the baby boomer generation. Reverend Judy? I did.
That's him. That's him talking.
Oh,
He does.
Is it on? Oh! I'm in a reverberation studio. Let's start again. Good morning, Unity of Mesa. Thank you. Welcome to Unity of Mesa, where we enlighten, empower, and energize one another to uplift our world through a greater expression of God. As Aaron mentioned, our service this morning is brought to you by members of the baby boomer generation. Reverend Judy's on vacation, and Reverend Kathy will be watching us online. My name is John Groves, and with me on platform this morning are Candee Lewis, who will be participating with our music team as part of our service and leading our meditation. And we have Bettis and Schubert, who will be sharing their stories for our main lesson. I will open with our mini lesson. And as part of our music team this morning, we are privileged to have Mervin. Thank you. Anthony grew up in gospel, singing solo, and with family across the Southwest District of his father's ministerial organization. After moving to Phoenix within a year, he was studying and singing jazz with Denise Martin and her trio. He has performed in many venues across Arizona, including several Unity centers. And as you already done so, let's duplicate that and extend to him a very warm Unity of Mesa welcome. Thank you. Our affirmation for the day is, I am a creator of peace and love. Will you repeat that with me, please? I am a creator of peace and love. Thank you. For our opening prayer this morning, we want to remember and hold space for the victims of the very extensive flooding in Europe, the victims of oppressive authoritarian regimes in Cuba and Venezuela and other countries that do not recognize the freedoms we enjoy, and for our elected leaders in the various offices they hold, whose constituencies are manifesting extensive political demands not easily satisfied. We extend our love and concern for the victims of domestic violence, the innocent victims of militancy and discord in countries like Afghanistan, the Tigray region in Ethiopia, and other countries struggling with the drought and other socioeconomic challenges, and our own emergency personnel responding to fires, accidents, crimes, and the many situations that bring sudden and significant changes for all involved. We speak appreciatively of the economic security we currently enjoy, and while we may perceive at times dark clouds, we know we live in an abundant universe where our needs are met and the potential for realizing our highest and best ambitions is open to us to achieve and enjoy. We speak gratefully for our community of faith as we continue to meet and support each other, sharing our love with one another, and knowing that we partake intrinsically of the Christ presence to guide our lives in all our endeavors. We express our gratitude and affirm, amen, and so it is. And now we welcome Anthony to share with us our opening song, Your Love is Lifting Me Higher. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay. Your love is lifting me higher
I should have said music team.
than I've ever been lifted before.
Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before.
So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. Take it, Candee. Your love is lifting me higher
than I've ever been lifted before. Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before.
Now once I was downhearted. Disappointment was my closest friend. But you came and he soon departed. And he never showed his face again. Take it.
Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. Your love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Candee.
Thank you for welcoming into your world of music. Now, it's time for a few things for you to know. So first, I'd like to extend an invitation to all you Gen Xers out there. We had a lot of fun putting together today's service, and we hope you'll consider being a part of your generational service. So contact Reverend Judy at unityofmesa.org to sign up. And that service is scheduled for August 22nd. Last Sunday, Reverend Judy gave you a hint about a new class coming in August, Finding Purpose and Patterns. This interactive class, developed by Reverend Mark, will help you evaluate the hidden patterns in your life which are keeping you from achieving your purpose and experiencing greater satisfaction in all areas of your life. Class begins August 21st, and registration is open online and in the bookstore. And you know it's sweet if it was started by Reverend Mark. This year, Unity of Mesa is joining the cities of Mesa and Gilbert by supporting their water drive. So please consider purchasing an extra case of water the next time you're at the store and drop it off at any of the many convenient locations around town. And please do not bring the water to the church. We don't have a way to get it to the drop-off site. And thank you to Anne and her spirit group for donating 2 pallets of water. You can find drop-off sites, more detailed class info, and much more on our website, unityofmesa.org's The Things for You to Know page. Thank you all for sharing your love and light with us this morning. Please know that your soul is welcome here. And now let's share our guiding statement to remind us why we come together. If you'll repeat with me, we are here to experience more of the fullness of who we truly are in order to transform the world. All are welcome here.
Thank you, Candee. What defines a generation? And more specifically, what defines the baby boomer generation? And what can we offer others as our legacy? We are the people born between 1946 and 1964. And as you can see on the slide, there's a little red bump. That's our group. We'll call it the baby boomer bump. There are approximately 71.6 million of us here in the United States that are part of this group. Pretty significant number. We grew up during the Cold War, contending with international tensions with the Soviet Union and other communist countries, and we were surrounded by the authoritarianism of our parents and other leaders who grew up during the Great Depression. We enjoyed high levels of economic security and affluence, and yet our world was not always peaceful. Our idealism prompted us to support civil rights for all. For all Americans, and largely oppose the war in Vietnam. In our search for freedom and self-expression, we experimented with drugs and nonconformist lifestyles. The trial of the Chicago 7, recently made into a movie, typifies the atmosphere of protest and repression that affected many of our cohorts. We were also blessed with events like the Woodstock Festival, held over 3 days near Woodstock, New York, at a local dairy farm in August 1969. More than 400,000 people, some estimate maybe as many as 500,000 young people converged at the festival the planners had intended would accommodate 50,000 people. Despite the rains, lack of sanitation facilities, and opposition from local residents, the festival proved successful and memorable. Sam Yazgur, a dairy farmer who owned the site where the concert was held, reportedly stated, "If we join them, we can turn those adversities, which are the problems of America today, into a hope for a brighter and more peaceful future." The rock musical Hair portrays for me quintessential elements of our generation. This work broke new ground since it did not fit within the traditional structure of Broadway musicals. Both Leonard Bernstein and Richard Rodgers loathed the work. Despite all the opposition this work encountered, it achieved economic success and proved quite popular. It even won a Tony Award for Best Musical Revival in 2009. Many of the songs in the musical became popular hits, like Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In, and Good Morning Sunshine. The lead character in this musical, Claude, reminds me of myself when I was trying to decide what to do about my draft status. Some of my schoolmates escaped the draft by emigrating to Canada. Others relied on college and graduate school deferments to avoid military service. I was thankful that I was able to finish my undergraduate studies. During World War II, there were no deferments for attending college, and being drafted meant serving for the duration of the war and not merely 12 months in Vietnam. The chorus of the opening song, Aquarius, lays out some of the ideals of our generation, and I would just like to take a moment to share that with you in song. When the moon is in the seventh house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets, and love will steer the stars. Don't try to make sense of the astrological markers in the lyrics. The transit in the seventh house for the moon lasts 2 hours every day, and Jupiter aligns with Mars roughly every 2 years. Still, the predominant thought is the idealism that peace and love will guide us. The focus on peace and love is reminiscent of the Apostle Paul's closing lines in his second letter to the Corinthian church. He writes, "Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice, strive for full restoration, encourage one another, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you." This Pauline benediction anticipates the ethos of our baby boomer generation, at once countercultural and yet affirming universal values we continue to hold. Yes, peace and love are qualities we all seek, and we can be very grateful that despite the conflicts of our present times, we continue to enjoy together the peace and love that are ours to live by. Sorry, I've slighted you once already. Now, Candee Lewis to lead us in our meditation. Thank you, Candee.
Peace. Now, as you settle comfortably in your seat, removing any items from your lap, placing your feet flat on the floor and your hands in your lap, and when you're ready, closing your eyes, imagine yourself with flowers in your hair, flowers everywhere. And above your head, envision a beautiful, softly glowing golden peace sign, gently bathing you in peace and love. Softly, the golden light flows down over your head, over your face, down your shoulders, down your arms into your fingers, down your chest and your stomach, moving slowly and softly down your legs and your feet, grounding you with the earth and the cosmos above. And as you feel yourself bathed and filled with this powerful peace and love, know that this is a feeling, an awareness, a state of being that you can capture at any time by becoming silent and going within, no matter what situations are occurring in your life or in the world. And once you've reached this powerful center and awareness, this state of being, you are able to send it out, sharing it wherever it is needed, filling the world, our world, with peace and love. Slowly return to the room, bringing yourself back into your body, moving your fingers and your toes, and remembering that we have the capacity to fill the world with peace and love.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Good morning. Am I on? Hello? Okay. Hi, I'm Jean Bettis, and I am a modern day flower child. My mission is to promote peace and love and the well-being of the planet. Many of you here and listening online remember firsthand the flower child movement of the 60s and 70s, or you have at least heard about it from someone born in my generation. In doing some research into this movement, I discovered that political activists of the time advocated the giving of flowers as a sign of peaceful protest or resistance. The young people involved in this movement wore colorful clothes with a flower pattern or wore flowers in their hair to symbolize their desire for universal peace and love. The Flower Children were one expression of a larger counterculture movement that was sweeping our nation. The Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement raised questions in the minds of young people about the conventional values they had been raised with. They wanted to see changes in society, and they were willing to be part of those changes, even if it meant challenging the status quo. Beyond being known for their peaceful protest of the war and racial inequality, Flower Children believed in communal living and a back to the land approach that honored the power of nature to heal and bring peace to troubled souls and bodies. Their hope for change was rooted in carrying their message of harmony in relationships and with the earth to the world outside their communes. They were pacifists who promoted peace through nonviolent communication. Flower Children demonstrated their values through their lifestyle, and this was very attractive to other young people who felt a similar calling. You may be wondering about now if I was a flower child back then and why I resonate with these values now. I was a little young to be a flower child because I was born in early 1960. I arrived on this planet as a sensitive, empathic child born into a conservative Christian household. I could always feel other people's feelings, and I felt my own deeply. From an early age, I can remember feeling close to God and connected to the spiritual world. As soon as I learned to read, I fell in love with words and books. And in school, I discovered I had a talent for writing. Most of the time, conservative church felt constricting and controlling and filled with rules for holy living. But many times I still felt spiritual joy there as I connected with God through a prayer, a message, or a song. In my heart, I knew that the spiritual world had no limits and nothing was impossible with God. I felt a calling to spread this spiritual joy to others, but I wasn't really sure how that was going to happen because I was quite shy and introverted. In my early 20s, at a time when I was at a real crossroads in my life, some guest ministers came to our church for a series on using your spiritual gifts. After a brief message at one of the services, the two ministers announced that they were going to call certain people in the audience up to the platform and give them a prophetic word about their spiritual gift. I was immediately terrified for two reasons. What if they called me up there and I tripped climbing up the stairs? Imagine stairs covered in blue shag carpeting and about twice as high as the ones here. There was no railing to hold on to, and I was wearing heels that day. Secondly, did I really want everyone in church to know the secret desires of my heart and the calling that I felt? Part of me wanted it to come out in the open, and part of me was afraid of what would transpire afterwards. Even though women were involved in these social movements for equality outside the church doors, inside the church, it was still the 1950s. And women's roles were to teach Sunday school, work in the nursery, or play the piano or organ. Sometimes they sang solos with the church choir. Although there is nothing wrong with these types of service in the church, I knew I had a different calling. I had always kind of stayed in the background of things at church and did what they asked me to do. These ministers evidently did not know that, so sure enough, they called me up to the platform. Fortunately, I didn't trip on the way up the stairs, but my knees were knocking together and I felt really shaky. As I knelt down in prayer and they laid their hands on my head, a message for me started to come through, and the outside world faded away. A few years ago, while sorting through some old papers, I found the typed out transcript of this message that they had given to me to keep. There's more to it than this, but I wanted to share a short excerpt from this message with you. And I will cause your hands to minister skillfully and artfully. I will cause your words to be words that are beautiful. Good news, pleasant things will you speak that will affect people's lives. Speak what is in your heart, what is in your spirit, what is in your mind. Do not hesitate, but let it flow out of you. Do what is in your heart. Minister with the ability that God gives. For you are a beautiful flower in the garden of God. Whether you are in a conservative church or an unconventional commune, your calling will find you. I never got an opportunity to be a part of the actual Flower Child movement, but as it turns out, I was a flower child all along. I found this transcript when I was trying to get back to my writing again, inspired by a class I was in here at Unity. I never became a traditional minister like I thought I would, but finding this message confirmed to me that writing and speaking the beautiful words I am given is a ministry. I am fulfilling my calling as I surrender to be an instrument for the flow of divine creativity that comes through me. I am a beautiful flower in the garden of God. Thank you. I am a modern day flower child. Thank you all. And now we have another inspiring message from Ann Schubert.
Throw caution to the wind. I know this mic works. Good morning, Unity. As one of the original baby boomers, born January 2nd, 1946, this is what a 75-year-old hippie looks like. And of course, being born that soon in the baby boomer generation, I was raised on the music of the baby boomers and those who went before, but my whole life has been influenced by the music of the 60s. Some of you may remember back that before rock and roll, we had pop music. I was born at the beginning of the post-war era, a time when there was a movement to restore the pre-war values of decency and everything in order, and to promote prosperity that was lost during the war. The music was forgettable. How many of you remember Frankie Avalon going, Venus? A few of you, yeah. But do you ever sing it anymore? Or another one, Paul Anka's Diana, oh Diana. And the one that really gets me now is having my baby, what a lovely way of saying how much you love me. Which, as a parent and a grandparent, I find horrifying. But anyway, and The one that was even earlier in my childhood was, some of you will remember this too. Love and marriage, go together like a horse and carriage. Ask the Lord. Yes, I thought that would ring a bell. Anyway, I need to go sideways? Okay. Anyway, there I am. All right. But anyway, so that was the story. And, but most of the songs then were sweet songs of innocence and romance, idealizing romance and love and marriage as the only way for a woman, and ignoring women's personal desires and ambitions. My most shocking memory of that level of music was in the 50s, when Elvis had his first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. And you remember, of course, the censors, who showed only his upper torso after he swiveled his hips. What a world it could be. By 1960, I entered high school, the year that Jean was born. But the times, they were a-changin'. I was 14 and living in New York City when I first heard Joan Baez in concert in Greenwich Village. And I went to the Goody record store the next day and bought her album, Joan Baez. And I was haunted and awed by her melodious voice, singing such ballads as Barbara Allen or The House in New Orleans. For the first time, I had a better understanding of the condition of those less fortunate and began to develop the compassion for others. So I bought a guitar, learned to play many of her songs, and because of my concerns about civil rights, I especially loved The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Birmingham Sunday, which was documenting the KKK bombing of an Alabama Sunday school, which killed 4 teens. Baez was a folk icon who fought for civil rights, social justice, and against the Vietnam War. At 75, my tender age, Joan Baez came out of retirement to protest our previous administration. She hadn't written a new song in 25 years, but she wrote and performed Nasty Man at the women's marches, including the one Karen and I attended in San Francisco that January. But you know, the wonderful thing is she is still humble after all her success. And although she believes her talent is a gift from God and it's nothing to take personal credit for, she always knew it should be used for greater good. And she is still fighting against discrimination and injustice at 80, an inspiration to us all. At the same time, Bob Dylan, her contemporary and friend, was writing some of his most provocative and meaningful music. Blowin' in the Wind told us about the many changes we go through in life, and he was right. Like a Rolling Stone allowed us to explore our wonder and wandering in the world. And of course, the times they are changing, one of the more famous songs, remind us of the impermanence of life and the need for social justice. During the 1960s and 70s, many young people began to question the morality, politics, and rigidity of post-World War II America, as John explained in his wonderful narrative. Many of us were worried and upset as so many young men were being drafted in the military to fight in the Vietnam War, a place we'd never heard of, and for reasons we didn't understand. We had been told that World War II was the war to end all wars. We wanted peace. We wrote letters and attended large protest rallies to end the war and stop the draft. And I marched regularly all through college as well, including with Joan Baez and people that were famous at the time. My junior year in high school, though, the first announcement that came over the PA in our new school was the shooting and death of John F. Kennedy. Everyone was crying all over the school, angry and sad of the death of our young president. Many of you can remember where you were when, can't you? The big defining element for our generation. And he had given us all hope for the future, a different future, and we believed him. So we were shattered. Simon and Garfunkel captured our disillusionment in The Sounds of Silence with words like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk to you again." We were back to the past, a big setback. My parents even let me skip school for Kennedy's funeral. But later that year in high school, we held a mock presidential election, and I played the role of Senator Margaret Chase Smith, who was a Republican, but they were different then. And she was the first woman to run for president. We lost the debate, but it brought up issues of equality, and our voices were heard. Even then, I had hope for a female president. Before the 1970s, women weren't allowed to get credit cards in their own name, serve on a jury, take any kind of birth control, enroll in most professions, or have any kind of workplace equality. Words of Love by the Mamas and Papas shifted some of that thinking by saying, "Words of love, so soft and tender, won't win a girl's heart anymore." And Dionne Warwick sang, "Don't Make Me Over," when Burt Bacharach suggested she make some changes in her personality and demeanor. "You have to accept me for what I am," she said, and that was the beginning of my understanding of feminism. The British invasion brought the next phase of evolution in my tastes and in my values. The Beatles started out tamely with "Love Me Do" and "I Want to Hold Your Hand." As our lives became more complex, so did their music. They told us about lonely people in Nowhere Man, who was making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Very scary to a college student who's thinking, what am I going to do with my life? And also Ellen Rigby, who died in the church and was buried along with her name. No one came. All the lonely people, where do they all belong? And we still worry about that. But we also learned that all you need is love, and I get by with a little help from my friends. We sailed with them in a yellow submarine and puzzled over the meaning of "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." You know. We all worried about getting older when we heard about "When I'm 64," but congratulations to all you fellow boomers. So far, so good. And in Revolution, they reminded us that change is possible. So the music of the 60s and 70s asked us to question everything. Our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and all the rules and laws we found so repressive. The music challenged the notions of traditional values and that continued to oppress people. It was not just decency, order, and prosperity, which only applied to a few. Some have said that the music of the 60s let loose a spirit of multicultural awakening that could not be stopped. The music of the 60s continues to inspire us today. According to the Rolling Stone, the protests of the 1960s, with the spirit of courage and defiance that civil rights, women's rights, anti-war, and nonviolence movements embraced. These social movements, defined in folk and rock music, or rock and roll really, have probably served as a significant impetus for many of today's calls for social activism and greater responsibility for the climate and all of the people who live on this earth. And I'd like to close with a little poem that I was blessed with on the internet this week. It's called "Reflections of a Boomer." Have any of you seen this? Okay. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. I've gone to Kansas City. I sang in the sunshine. I've been on the road again with Georgia on my mind. Like a rolling stone, I've given peace a chance. I've put a camel to bed and danced the last dance. Mr. Tambourine Man played a song for me. I've whispered words of wisdom. Let it be. I've fallen into a burning of fire and walked the line. To all the girls I loved before, you were always on my mind. I've been everywhere, and I've been so lonesome I could cry. I've driven my Chevy to the levee when the levee was dry. I've been to Itchy-Coo Park in a yellow submarine. I've made the scene in a time machine. I've done the hokey pokey and turned myself around. I've welcomed baby back to the side of town. I've followed the tracks of my tears down a long and winding road. I've rocked around the clock on a sunshiny day. I've sought shelter from the storm. I've sat on the dock of the bay. I've rocked around the clock on a sunshiny day. All right, maybe I said that. I've knocked on heaven's door while blowing in the wind. Joy to the world. Those were the days, my friend. Lay, lady, lay in crimson and clover. It's been a hard day's night. The party is over.
Yeehaw. Thank you all very much. So here at Unity of Mesa, we are the change agents of the world through our prayers and affirmations of being light and giving from our abundance. We as a spiritual community, limited to self-discovery and spiritual growth, support the work of the greater good as we enlighten, empower, and energize one another to uplift our world through a greater expression of God. There are many ways to financially support the spiritual community, indirectly through the Amazon affiliate web links and adding Unity Church of the East Valley to your favorite charities on Smile Amazon and Fry's Rewards, or giving directly by using our Give Online link and the Give Plus app, or through credit debit card payments to the bookstore. And all the info on how you can give and more can be found on our website, unityofmesa.org. There's also red buckets around on the different sides of the rooms because we don't pass the offering anymore. Now, please take your gifts in your hands, and holding our gifts in our hands, our hearts and our minds, we dedicate and consecrate these gifts to the greatest expression of spirit through the work of this ministry. Let us affirm together our offering blessing. Together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. We give thanks for the givers and the gifts. Thank you, God.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. This is a song. It's one of hope, used and canonized into an anthem for people who were oppressed. It is used from a proclamation of resilience to one in the darkest hours of solace, of comfort, to an anguished spirit. In our world, we choose to include knowledge of any injustice, and there's so much hurt. So, you know the saying, build it and they'll come. Let's make ourselves opened and deep wells of peace, cisterns of overwhelming love. Sing it this way because it also contains hope. We are peace and love. We are peace and love. We are peace and love today. Deep in my heart, I do believe we are peace and love today. So now we walk hand in hand. We walk hand in hand. We walk hand in hand today. Deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand today. One more time. Oh, we are peace and love. We are peace and love. We are peace and love today. Deep in my heart, I do believe we are peace and love today.
Thank you, Candee and Anthony, for your rendition of We Shall Overcome, very contemporary in our circumstances. After the service, which we will be concluding shortly, we may not be serving food or drink for hospitality, but we are serving conversation, and we invite you to step into the garden family room where we can visit with one another. And chaplains are available for one-on-one prayer. I'm not sure who's serving in that capacity, but I'm a prayer chaplain, will do so, and Sharon is doing so as well. And wherever you find us is where we'll be. And we'll be very happy to pray with you over any concerns you might have. We now will close with our prayer of protection. Please feel free to repeat this with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Next week, for our service, we're going to have Cerise Patron, who is going to do double duty with both the music and the service, the message for us. So it's something very much to look forward to. Now I think we just have the track of our peace song for our closing. Thank you very much for joining us for our service. Trust it'll be a blessing.